Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Joe Palmer begins now.
Good evening, everyone. Tasmania's firefighters are on edge tonight as they prepare for dangerous bushfire weather set to hit the state tomorrow. They've been continuing to contain several blazes that broke out yesterday ahead of worsening hot, windy and dry conditions.
Plumes of thick smoke billowing from behind the New Norfolk Hills. These were the hazy conditions nearby residents were faced with last night.
There was a hell of a lot of smoke on the hill. A few spot fires come over, and then next minute we got one on this side of the hill. So yeah, it's a bit of a dramatic episode really.
Up near my sister's house it was real bad. It was really smoky. Like I was choking. It's gross.
Fires in the neighbouring Lachlan and Glenfern areas, upgraded to emergency level with a few close calls.
The fires did come close to a few properties, but the fire crews did work in and around those properties to extinguish any of the spot fires.
The blazes today downgraded to advice level as cool and calmer weather set in statewide. After backburning and firefighting efforts, crews managed to contain a fire that broke out in dry scrub at Scamander on the east coast yesterday, while a small blaze was tackled at Lefroy, east of Georgetown.
There's still a little bit of work to be done on that one, but crews are well on top of it.
But fire authorities say they're remaining vigilant, with warm and windy conditions predicted over the next 2 days.
Freshening northwesterly winds during Thursday and Friday. We'll see temperatures move up into the high 20s and low 30s in parts of Tasmania. And coupled with relatively low humidity, we're expecting elevated fire dangers.
This map shows the fire danger index forecast tomorrow, with very high levels stretching from the Huon Valley to Central Highlands and another patch on the east coast.
There will be a total fire ban in the southern region as of 2 a.m. tomorrow morning, so that means we don't expect people to light fires. So if people do the right thing and listen to our messaging, we're not expecting to have any more fire in the landscape tomorrow.
Insurance companies urging residents to make sure they're fully and properly covered.
If a fire is at your back door, then there may be an embargo and an inability to actually increase your cover or take out cover. So the message really is to get in early and be prepared.
With fire permits required from tomorrow, now upgraded to statewide, to try and alleviate further fire risk.
We've got enough fire in the landscape already. Our resources are stretched at the moment, so we're controlling what we've got at the moment. We do not need any new starts.
Ruby Kamain, 7 Tasmania News.
Meanwhile, there's been a fiery fallout in Parliament over how prepared the state is for the bushfire season. The Greens and Labor say recommendations made following last summer's fires are gathering dust, but the government is hosing down the claims.
With parts of the state burning, it was only a matter of time until the fire spread to Parliament.
It's about the AFAC recommendations. Have they been resourced?
I'm also pleased to confirm that the Air Desk has been established in delivering the recommendation 6 of the AFAC report.
That's just one out of the 9 recommendations made following last summer's bushfire season. The government insists it's making progress on the August report.
It will be all in place by the start of the summer bushfire season.
It hasn't convinced Labor.
When a government is not acting upon recommendations, that raises serious concerns.
Meanwhile, the union wants more flexibility for ageing career firefighters.
We need to be able to open up positions within the service that may not be on the back of the truck operational, but they can still add value to the service.
The Tasmania Fire Service says those protocols are already in place. Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
An inquest examining a suicide attempt within the Royal Hobart Hospital's emergency department has exposed the serious deficiencies in the treatment of mental health. The head of the ED confirmed since the 2016 incident in question, there have been more suicide attempts at the stretched hospital.
The operation of our busiest emergency department under the Chief Coroner's scrutiny, examining the death of 37-year-old Joseph Latimer, who died 11 days after a suicide attempt in the department's bathroom in July 2016. Today, the inquest heard from the nurse in charge on the night. She said it was a busy night and, at that time, there was no place for Mr Latimer to be allocated to. The coroner previously heard there was no specialist psychiatric emergency nurse or PEN on duty that night. Today, hearing that situation still occurs frequently, and when there is no PEN, there's an escalation in behaviours, and the emergency department isn't therapeutic. The head of emergency also gave evidence, telling the inquest there have been staffing increases since the incident, but the number of presentations are also dramatically worse.
This inquest has just been examining one suicide attempt at the Royal Hobart Hospital here in 2016, but the coroner heard from the head of the ED that there have been many incidents since then. She said there are changes coming with the hospital's redevelopment, but they will take time.
The inquest before Coroner McTaggart has been adjourned for submissions. Ebony Ablett, 7 Tasmania News.
And if you or someone you know needs support, help is available 24/7. You can contact Lifeline on 13 11 14. There's more fallout tonight from the bungled censoring of a report into the Ashley Youth Detention Centre, with a development triggering calls for an independent investigation. For the details, our political reporter Michelle Wisby joins us now. Michelle, good evening. What's the latest reaction to the censoring scandal?
Joe, Tasmania's custodial inspector who completed this report in question said there's going to be more strict stance against censoring in the future. Now, this all blew up when this report investigating was tabled in Parliament, with some sections blacked out. But embarrassingly, those sections could still be read under a certain light and expose some security flaws at the Ashley Youth Detention Centre. That included a lack of CCTV monitoring and insecure fence and deficient searches. The question was asked in Parliament yesterday: who tried to censor those sections? Let's take a look now at the Minister's response.
I am advised that the redactions in the report were made by the custodial inspector in consultation with the Department of Communities Tasmania.
Now, today we've heard from the custodial inspector, Richard Connick, who says those redactions were requested by the Minister's department. In response to the scandal, the inspector is saying he'll be taking a stronger stance against redacting reports unless the information is considered by him a significant security risk. Now, this latest development has already triggered calls from the opposition for an independent investigation into any possible government interference. So, Joe, I'm sure this isn't the last we'll hear about it.
You're probably right there, Michelle. Thank you very much for that report. Michelle Wisby joining us there. As the state's hospitals continue to struggle under unprecedented patient demand, medical professionals are still pleading for an overhaul of protocols. Those on the front line want the government to urgently review the Launceston General Hospital's escalation policy, but the health minister's given no indication of making changes anytime soon.
The Launceston General Hospital's emergency department at times battling to keep up with rising patient numbers.
Unless the government steps in with urgent additional health funding and a commitment to increase capacity here at the LGH, it is concerning that it will be the new norm.
Staff pleading for change in the hospital's capacity to deal with patient flow at peak times. Earlier this month, unions say it was so busy, staff tried to call a code yellow an internal emergency. Today, the government was quizzed on whether it will now overhaul an escalation protocol.
Are you listening to those Launceston General Hospital staff? And when will the new escalation protocols for the Launceston General Hospital be introduced?
The LGH has seen significant pressure in their ED of late, and that's why we're working with clinicians to be able to look for solutions. We've got access solutions that we're rolling out.
The introduction of a Level 4 policy was rolled out at the Royal Hobart Hospital 2 years ago. The highest level signalling a patient flow problem across the hospital, triggering decisions about postponing non-critical surgeries and calling in extra staff.
We empower our local hospital leaders with regards to escalation protocols, Madam Speaker. I rely on the professionals to make sure that they have the tools available to them to be able to respond at times of need.
Michelle Wisby, 7 Tasmania News.
With Tasmania now considered one of the best mountain bike destinations in the world, the brains behind the Medina Bike Park, Dirt Art, have revealed their latest vision with plans for a new development at the Mean Range outside of Hobart.
We're looking to build a network of new trails that are open to the community and provide an uplift service to transport riders in a bus from the site here to the top of the hill, and then provide some basic facilities like a cafe, bike hire, similar to what we've done out at the Medina site in the Derwent Valley.
Dirt Art is currently working with Council to acquire a portion of the publicly owned site, with work on the new facility set to begin in 2020. After a year of careful curation, UTAS Stadium's new state-of-the-art surface is ready to go. The special turf will complete a multi-million-dollar upgrade of the ground, but the biggest challenge is yet to come.
Who knew how exciting it could be watching grass grow? Some of the nation's biggest sporting stars will grace this thriving turf over the coming years. It's almost too nice to cut up.
A lot more work than your normal backyard.
A lot more. It needs constant care. Curator Brian Dunn is out here every day. Because the sod is so thin, even the slightest hint of neglect could spell disaster.
Within a few hours, it could be, going from looking healthy to, near dying.
Due to Tasmania's strict quarantine laws, the turf had to be grown locally, presenting a colossal challenge for the Launceston City Council. But the final product promises to look nicer, be less slippery and offer better drainage than the previous surface. It's now being mowed daily to keep the grass at the perfect playing height. The next step is the huge task of shifting all of this turf from here in Dilston to UTAS Stadium. This entire field will be cut into rolls, loaded onto trucks and laid down to create a new world-class surface. And they will do it all in a week. That means they'll be laying 2,500 square metres per day.
Transporting this turf puts stress on it, so very critical that, it's transported quickly and laid quickly, and we have it in healthy condition once it leaves the turf farm.
Installation will begin next week, setting up UTAS Stadium for the next 15 years. Tom Johnson, 7 Tasmania News.
A Launceston auction house has once again landed in hot water over the sale of Nazi memorabilia. 60 military artefacts went under the hammer today, including items from one of the darkest chapters of human history.
They're symbols of fear and hate, but they're worth money. For the second time, Nazi memorabilia went under the hammer at Launceston's Armitage auctions. This time, news cameras weren't allowed inside.
I just came here to have a look at a piece of furniture. There's families still living here from the Holocaust, and they're auctioning stuff. It's just unbelievable that it's even auctioned.
Among the highest prices was an SS ring selling for $800 to a man wearing white supremacy clothing. Medals bearing the swastika also fetched in the hundreds. The auction house has apologised for any distress caused by the sale, but it says most items sell to collectors of memorabilia and not those spreading hate or anti-Semitism. The state government says the issue is out of its control.
I prefer that it wasn't sold, but the government doesn't have the power to reach in and stop it from being sold, but I think it's abhorrent that it is being sold.
Launceston's rabbi says the sale has upset the families of Holocaust survivors in Melbourne. He continues to preach hope as long as hate exists.
We just have to counteract their hate with love. To be able to counteract their hate with light, the light will always extinguish darkness.
Sean McComish, 7 Tasmania News.
Hobart Hurricanes coach Sally Ann Briggs is expecting the side's big names to lift following 2 disappointing losses on the road. The Canes head to the northwest coast this weekend, with local fans being urged to turn out in force.
After starting the season with 2 impressive wins, the Canes dropped both their matches against the Strikers and Heat in Brisbane last weekend, with the side's star-studded batting order failing to fire.
For our batters not to, chase down a really low total and then not follow it up through the next day with putting a good score on the board was disappointing for us.
In their first games on Tasmanian soil this WBBL season, the side takes on the Sydney Thunder at Burnie's West Park on Saturday and Sunday. And Briggs is confident they can steer their season back in the right direction with the support of the Northwest Coast.
We scored our highest total there at Burnley, so it just brings loads of confidence back for us from the memories that we had there last year. And we're playing a team that we know a lot about. There's a lot of girls that have come from Thunder into this team, so we know pretty much about their players, and we back themselves to get 2 wins actually, not just the 1.
Meantime, the Tasmanian Tigers resume their Sheffield Shield season at Blunston Arena against Victoria tomorrow, following several changes to the squad, with in-form opener Jordan Silk set to miss a month of cricket after suffering a wrist injury during training, while Aussie Test captain Tim Payne will be rested for the clash.
It was always the plan that he would play 2, he'd miss game 3 and then come back for game 4 with us and then head off to the Australian summer. So we knew this from 6 weeks ago.
The match begins at 10:30 tomorrow morning.
Cloud cleared this morning to a mostly sunny day about the state with some light drizzle in the north. Launceston reached 21 degrees, Devonport 18, Hobart and Burnie both 17. Maximums were generally 1 to 3 degrees above average with no significant rainfall recorded through the day. Ouse 20, Grove Strawn and the Bass Strait Islands 19, Smithton 18, Lyowini 17, Low Head 16, Maria Island 15. From the satellite, extensive low cloud across most of the state, clearing through the day. Zooming out, convective cloud over northern New South Wales and central Queensland today, and a cloud band associated with a cold front heading towards southwest WA. Moving on to tomorrow now, with a couple of high pressure centres over the Tasman extending ridges over central Australia and the Queensland coast, and a deep low sitting south of the Bight. On the coastal waters, northeasterly winds 10 to 20 knots, shifting north to northwesterly through the day, swells up to 2 metres in the west and south. There's a strong wind warning for northwestern coastal waters from Sandy Cape to Stanley, and also in the southwest from Southeast Cape to Low Rocky Point. And a fire weather warning for the Midlands, Upper Derwent Valley and southeast. It's going to be hot and partly cloudy in Hobart tomorrow, looking at a top of 30 degrees, the same at Cygnet, New Norfolk 32. Partly cloudy in the north, Launceston 26, Devonport 20, Campbelltown 28. Burnie partly cloudy and 22, Strawn 26, Smithton 21. St Helens and Swansea both looking partly cloudy with tops of 27, Fingal 30. UV looking high with 8s across the state. Looking ahead to Friday now, with rain and possible thunderstorms in the west of the state, but fine elsewhere. Saturday, rain across the state, easing to showers in the afternoon, possible thunderstorms about the northwest, and Sunday showers developing about the west in the morning, extending statewide in the late afternoon. Further north tomorrow, showers and wind in Perth, a partly cloudy day for Brisbane, smoke haze over Sydney, and sunny conditions expected in Adelaide and Melbourne. And finally, let's take a look at the current conditions across the state, and a reminder, Joe, to take care in the hot and dry conditions tomorrow. Back to you.
That's all from the team for now. Have a lovely evening. We'll see you a little later with updates. Bye-bye.